Hey, I figure since we missed so much time, we'll talk a little bit about the annotated bibliography because, well, things happen. And anyway, so yeah, I think a few of you have turned it in, but again, like I said in the first video, um, if I went ahead and just changed the time just because things got crazy. So if you turned it in and you're like, and you look at this stuff and you're like, cool, excellent, I'm good to go, yay, no problem. If you turned it in and you're like, oh my gosh, no, I need to work on this some more, I want to, or I have questions, or I want to take it to the virtual writing center, then cool, you'll have time to do that, okay? So let me just run you through a few things that I've put up since we're not face to face in the class and since we lost some continuity. So on our schedule, do notice that I did put a link for the virtual, the flyer for the virtual writing center. It just links you to the image in my Google Drive. So if you have any problems, let me know. They do have, the same thing they've been doing where you can email it to them, and then you get, they'll give you, feedback on Microsoft, so comments in the margins and everything, and then audio too. So they'll give you a little audio file that says, okay, I looked through your paper and this and that. And then they're also doing virtual Zoom appointments. And so read through this if you want to do that. You'll have some sort of documentation that you've done that. You'll need to turn that in, attach that also when you turn in the assignment so that I can get you that writing center credit, okay? So anyway, there's that. There are 3 documents here that should help you out. Go back and review. One is a sample with annotations. So this gives you the overall, it just repeats the overall annotated bibliography assignment. So like I said, even if you've turned it in, slow down and just read through this. What needs to happen in those. It gives you some resources. Remember, we are doing this in APA format, so there's the written instructions, and then for whatever word processor you're using, there's a video, okay? And then this goes back and reviews those citations, and then just general stuff. That how to write a summary is really good. So anyway, step 1, format your paper in APA. This is just a sample of the annotation, so it's not showing it. Here, I didn't put the annotation in. You'd have it there, but I just wanted to make the point alphabetically, A, E, and then later we'll have, Ben, so F, put it in alphabetical order by whatever's first there. So you're going to do that citation and, use the Purdue OWL, use your writer's reference. Remember, it's following instructions. I will also put a link into the schedule for, let me see, what kind of source video. So it really does help you kind of figure out what things are if you get confused. So you're going to write that annotation. Remember, that annotation has to have 3 things in it. The citation, okay, and then the wording has to have the credibility. Why is this person or organization credible? And then the summary. And that's not just a baby 1-sentence summary. That's not a summary. That's just topic. It gives you, here's the main point, right? So here you can see Rudy starts with the author's name and then says a psychologist and body image researcher at Northwestern University. So she's looking at body image. And so that's the credibility. This person's a researcher at Northwestern University. So a lot of times it will be the organization, their education, their experience. Here's a note: if you have a source that's written for a newspaper or magazine, so you have a reporter, what do you do? And so she gives, here's, the credibility, and then just kind of a little bit overall getting us in. And then this is the main point. If you had to put, when you look at your source, if you had to put that main point in 1 sentence, what would you say? Overall, what is it? That's your main point. The rest of it needs to be, what are the basic support for that main point? What are the main points? So use some quotes, right? Use that citation correctly. Go back and review that citation basics video. But what is, because that way you have some stuff that's already going to go in your paper. Paraphrase, put it in your own words, but make sure you do that citation as needed. And you'll see that's what Rudy does in here. She, Elgin notes that beauty sickness is not an affliction specific to men, women, men are just susceptible, and she puts in a quote there. Now this is a video, so she doesn't have those citations at the end, but if it wasn't, if we either had sections or page numbers, she would use those. Why does she only give this date here and there? Well, that explains it, okay? Um, and then at the end, provide the word count. I'm not sitting there counting your words, okay? I mean, everybody's doing this, so if I have to stop and do that for everybody, listen, you're the student, man, do it, okay? And then, of course, you repeat it until you're done. Remember, you've got to have 4 sources. Make sure you put them in alphabetical order. Notice I mentioned that again. Do that hanging indent. And again, those that oops, wherever it went with the in the assignment up there, um, the citation basics. This goes through and discusses all of that. And then at the very bottom, if you would like to look at a full version of this, so you can see what it looks like overall, where we've got our APA format, and then here's, now this one is a little different. Rudy has 6 sources. You only need to have 4, but you can see there's one source, and then there's the annotation. And then boom, there's another source. There's that citation, that hanging indent. Notice how it's scooted over. But then notice this is a regular paragraph. And here she has one of those long quotes. We talked about those in class. And remember, if you have a quote over 40 words in length, that's the internet, APA. What do? So again, another citation, and then another annotation, another citation. You just do that until you get all 4 of them, and then you are good to go. So that's what this goes over. This is, I do believe that actually Rudy's again. So there's an independent link to that. And this is a good source on just the general stuff about writing an annotated bibliography. It's not that long, gives you some examples, so it's definitely worth using, and it talks some about the wording here. Now remember, we're writing formal papers, but formal language does not come from some effete, fancy like words we don't actually use. You need to use words we actually use. So don't make it sound like you're trying to sound like you're smart from 100 years ago, or you're kissing somebody's ass. That doesn't make it good. That makes it crappy. It really does. So don't do that, okay? Okay. But what do? Remember, you get rid of the I, me, my. No, I want to use this essay, or I found this interesting, or, this, that. You're going to get rid of that. We'll return to that some in this formal report because it lends it to itself some. But right now, we're practicing that. Get rid of it. Instead of saying, I think y'all are the greatest class, I'm just going to say, y'all are the greatest class. Boom, just like that. That's much stronger. I think it, I said it. Okay, so that I, me, my, you can just ditch, and usually that sentence is fine. Maybe you need to make a little changes. If you're using the you, don't do that. When you read this, no. Do you mean just Kelly? No, anybody. When people read this, if you're talking about, should I go to NMSU or UTEP? When you decide to go to UTEP, well, whoa, no, I went to NMSU. I didn't decide that, right? So when a student, and so that's where we're going to practice this formal voice. And then as we start to work on your research report, we'll, as we talk individually, we'll be able to kind of talk about, should this be one where you wouldn't use that, or should it be one where you would? Okay. But anyway, there's just kind of some review on the annotated bibliography, and some helpful links. So make sure and use those, and ask me questions. You've got another week, so either way, go to the Writing Center, right? Give it a try. Be patient with them too, because some of this stuff, like the regular response and everything, they've done. Some of the other technology's newer, and remember, most of them are students too, and dealing with all of their classes. Not all of them, but we do have some full-time and some part-timers who aren't students anymore, but many of our tutors are students, and they may be at UTEP or NMSU or wherever, and they're dealing with all of their classes that may have been face-to-face going online as well, and they may have kids at home, and they may have, I'm really proud of the college for keeping, so far as I've heard, all of the tutors, both the Writing Center and the other labs. So anyway, they may have craziness too. They may have the kids in the background as well. So anyway, take care, ask me questions, and keep on keeping on.